Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and today we're going to look at the vintage collection. Some pretty good sales this week. I have had trouble finding any kind of interesting sales to talk about over the last 2 or 3 videos. And Yakface bailed me out last week with his Instagram post talking about collecting in general and pre-orders. But this week, it's not an issue. There are a lot of really big-time sales that happened this week, so we'll dig into those. I do have 2 new Patreons I need to say thank you to, Brett G. and Mark Shearer. Thank you both so much for becoming Patreon supporters. I really appreciate the channel support from all my Patreon team. Patreon.com/actionfiguregrader is where you can go to sign up. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of these awesome sales. There were a bunch that were pretty interesting. The first one is Power Droid again. He had another unpunched TVC 1.0, tough one to find. He had the Magna Guard. He had an unpunched Darth Vader VC-13, and this one got listed. I didn't see it get listed, but it sold very quickly. This is VC-04 Luke Skywalker Bespin Fatigues, unpunched. Very tough to find, that one, and it was graded AFA 9.0 on the modern scale, and that one sold for $500. And that's not a terrible price relative to the last graded unpunched VC-04 that I saw sell. And I want to say it was a couple of years ago, and it was around $800. And there might have been one since then. I don't really remember, but I do know of one that sold around $800 for an unpunched VC-04. So $500, pretty fair deal on that one. This was an interesting lot. All of these were punched, but they were Canadian examples. So we've got the Return of the Jedi Boba Fett, we've got the Senate Guard, we've got Jango Fett, and we have Admiral Akbar, all of them on TVC 1.0 Canadian card backs. So tough to find those. And I was shocked by that price. $600. $600 for those 4. And I could maybe see that if they were unpunched, but that's a big number. That's a really big number for punched Canadian examples. I'm not trying to disparage the buyer or anything. I just, to me, I was a little surprised that that sold at $600. I would have thought maybe closer to $400, $450, somewhere in that ballpark. But that one did sell at $600, so big number there. Here was an unpunched Revenge of the Jedi Boba Fett. Not a perfect card. You know, it was very light edgeware, very minor edgeware to it, but this is the offer list from the SDCC box set. And this one did sell in an auction for $138.50. Pretty decent deal there. Here was that AFA 85 or 8.5 on the modern scale, signed by Jeremy Bulloch. And it says to James, Jeremy Bulloch, Boba Fett. So hopefully a James bought that, as we talked about in my What to Buy video. But that one did sell for $250 and 1 penny plus shipping on that one. So that was an interesting sale there. Here was another uncirculated 9.5 for the VCPO3 rocket firing Boba Fett. And again, Power Droid sold this one, $600 on that one. And I feel like there was another one that we had in last week's video that was a little bit lower than that. Don't quote me on that. You can go back and watch it if you want to, but I can't keep it all in my head. But I vaguely remember another uncirculated 9.5 selling. It might have been more, it might have been less. I don't remember, but that's the second one we've seen in 2 weeks that has sold. This was a CAS uncirculated 95 prototype Boba Fett VC-61. And that one was listed for $650, and the best offer accepted on that was $500. So big number on that. Now look, I'm not disparaging CAS at all, okay? But it is a lot easier to get 95s or 95s versus an AFA 9.5 or an AFA 95. They just grade a little faster and looser. In my opinion, okay, you can buy a sealed mailer box of this VC-61, roll the dice on it, and see if you can get a CAS 95, and you're probably going to be all in about $200 versus paying this one, which was $500. Now, you're taking zero grading risk on this one for an uncirculated 95, but I just feel, I've sent in a number of Big Bad Toy Store collector grade examples to CAS over the years for the vintage collection, and I've gotten boatloads of 95s, a lot of 95s over the years. I would guess 25 to 30 minimum. So from my perspective, I think that paying $500 for this is a little high. That's just my personal opinion on it. And again, I'm not trying to disparage the buyer at all. I just think that if you are looking to get a high grade prototype Boba Fett, it's easier to just send one in, get a sealed box, and they go for what, $130 ish on eBay, and then send it in to get graded yourself. So there are times where I feel like it's okay to buy something already graded, because you want the certainty of the grade. I feel like for some of the modern items that it probably makes sense to grade them yourself if you're really hell-bent on getting a high-grade example. Because, if you get a sealed mailer box of this one for $130, you send it in, let's call it another $100 total grading and shipping, all that. So you got maybe $200 to $250 in it, and let's say it comes back an 85 plus or a 90. You're probably gonna get your money back, all right, if you want to try it again later. So that's my personal opinion. I've done that before myself. But again, I'm not crapping on somebody for paying $500 for it. I'm just saying for modern items, it's pretty easy to find a 95 grade from CAS. It's harder to find an AFA 95. That I could see paying up for. But CAS does grade a little bit looser than AFA, even on the modern stuff. And it's not difficult to get a 95 with CAS or UKG. But again, AFA, it is tough. It's very, very difficult to get a 9.5 like this one, uncirculated. They don't hand those out very often. Next up, we've got a Clone Commander Cody. This is the retail, the non-foil release. I can't talk today. Punched example, plus the foil unpunched proof card that they gave away at Star Wars Celebration or one of the SDCCs. I can't remember. That one sold for $177.50 for that lot of two. Pretty decent deal there. Here was a CAS 95 Gamorrean Guard. And again, this one sold for $220. Now, this one, I sent in like 4 of these Gamorrean Guards to CAS, and I got 95s, I think, on 3 of them, and then a 90 plus on one of them. And I sold them all. I ended up wanting one, and then I sold the rest of them, and it paid for the grading fees and for mine, that I got to keep. So this is another one, it sold for $220. That's a little closer. To me, this is probably a case where if you get it for $220 plus $20 shipping, $240, that's probably okay, right? That makes a little more sense to go ahead and buy it graded versus the $500 for the VC61 prototype Fett. I could see, okay, you just go ahead and get the CAS 95. You don't have to fool with it. You don't have to deal with shipping to and from CAS. You don't take any grading risk. You don't have the turnaround times of 3 to 4 months. This is a little closer to reality, in my opinion, because that's about what I sold mine for, $175 to $200 thereabouts. Next up was an unpunched AT-RT driver. That one sold for $118 plus $8 shipping. That's about right. That's about where they're going, $100 to $125 on average. You could probably get one maybe slightly cheaper if you wait for an auction, but I'm not. There's many times where I have bid on the on some of these items that I want and lost, and then if I see one that pops up that's 10% more expensive, then I just buy it. Who cares? This is also the backpack variation with the backpack to the right of the figure. So that's a slight variation for that one. Next up, talk about a collection flex. Nothing like listing one item and then having a complete wall all in star cases of their vintage collection. That's a very nice collection flex for this seller here. Pretty cool. He's got 2 different Jabba's throne rooms, it looks like there, plus the sail bar. So it's a very nice collection flex. I'll give the seller credit on that one, but he did sell this VC54 ARC Trooper unpunched US card for $115 free shipping. This was in the US, but it was minty looking. It was very, very nice example. And wow, that really looks nice, having them all displayed like that. That's very, very cool. Next up, I've got several different VC64 Princess Leia in her slave outfits that sold. This was the US card unpunched with the prototype Fett offer. It was listed for $230. Best offer accepted was $220 plus $455 shipping. We had this one that sold in an auction. I would argue this was probably in better shape than this one. But it's a guess because there's only one photo on this one, so I don't know. But this one looked really clean. And again, this was a Revenge of the Jedi also with the prototype FET offer. So this is the retail release, not the SDCC version. I take it back. You can look at the bottom of this card back here, and it does have some crinkling going on the lower left-hand corner. So this one did have a little bit of damage, it looked like. That one sold for $238.50. $238.50 on that one, plus $6 shipping. And then here was another one that also had light edge wear. You can see some edge wear to the right of the Return of the Jedi logo, and some other kind of very light dings. And it was also a punched example. That one sold in an auction for $251.57. So this was a punched example with a lot of edge wear. You can see on the bottom of that one. So that surprises me, and those prices are up a little bit. Next up was Jar Jar Binks unpunched US card. That one sold for $130. That's another one that's really held its value nicely over the last few months. It seems like he is very desirable, and it's a great card image too, by the way. I really like the blue sky. Well, it's really the force field, right? The kind of the energy field that they had during that Battle of Naboo. So that's cool. But $130 on that one. Princess Leia in the Bespin outfit, VC 111. This was a US unpunched card, $110 on that one, free shipping. That's one that's kind of been hovering in that same price range forever, so no big surprises there. Here was a little bit of a surprise. This was a loose Joe Castanew with the proof card, with the opened original unpunched card back and blister, and the Brian's Toys exclusive box. So it's loose, and it's still sold for $124 plus $11.90 shipping. And that seems a little high to me for a loose figure, but that's what it goes for. So pretty cool figure there. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like Jocasta Nu almost looks like a character from the new Acolyte series that's coming out here soon. I do not have high hopes for that series. You know, it just doesn't look good to me. I'm sorry. I try to get behind the High Republic era. I liked a lot of the comics. I liked a lot of the novels, but that series does not look that great. It looks like the Matrix mixed with kind of like normal, boring Jedi fights. I hope it's better than the trailers look. It doesn't look very good to me. They don't have Marchion Ro in the trailer. I mean, they really should have Marchion Ro as the villain. I mean, come on. He's such a great villain in the books. And maybe they're going to show him eventually. I don't know. Okay, but it's definitely contempt prior to investigation. Okay, I'm going to watch it, but based on what I've seen with the trailer, I'm not excited about it. I'm expecting it to suck really bad. And I don't mean to offend anybody. I just feel like it looks kind of crappy. So I'll leave it at that. Uncirculated 9.0 Rey Island Journey from The Last Jedi. That one sold for $120 plus $17 shipping. Not a terrible deal there for an uncirculated 9.0. That's a pretty good deal there. Here was an interesting one. This was the Rise of the Skywalker Rey, but this was a factory error upside down figure. And that one was sold at auction, and I thought that price was pretty reasonable, really. $222.50 on that one. It shouldn't go for what a miscard goes for, right? But it's a pretty cool factory error. I would actually argue that these upside down blisters are harder to find than the miscards. You just don't see these very often. So I thought that was a pretty cool one. Yak Face from the Katana Sail Barge. That one sold for $150. Only one bid on that one. I'm not sure what's going on with that blister on the left-hand side. You could make an argument that it looks like it's starting to pop off the blister there, or that it's starting to pop off the card back, and it does. You can see right here that the seal has failed on this side. So maybe the buyer did not realize it, but that's a common problem with that blister. The glue just doesn't stay on, and that one definitely has come off. So I don't know if they disclosed it. Yeah, so he did disclose it, in all fairness to the seller there. So $150 for that one, and probably $200 to $250 for one that's cleaner. Jar Jar Binks. Several different Jar Jar Binks in Carbonite sold. This one sold at $365. It had some condition issues there on the back. You can see by the individual, not for individual resale. It had some tears and things like that. So this is like an 80 grade example at best. $365 on that one. This one was a lot cleaner though, and sold for $516.50. Very strong price for an auction. This one actually wasn't that clean either, really. It had some edge wear in the bottom there. So, for two that are not very clean, this one definitely, to me, seemed overpriced at $516.50. This one I think is okay at $365, but I wouldn't pay $516.50 given the edge wear on the bottom of that one and the top, really. I mean, it's got a lot of edge wear to it. Next up, that CAS 90 loose Mandalorian from the Razor Crest. That one was listed for $300, sat on the market for a little while. It finally did sell at $250, but that's a great display from CAS. I mean, credit where credit's due, right? This is a really nice display for what else are you going to do with it, right? It came in like a little baggie, and it's a cloth goods cape. I mean, it's just, everything about it's really cool. I think it's a great display and worth getting displayed like that, you know, if you got the money to burn on a modern loose graded item. I think that's pretty cool. But anyway, that one did sell for $250. Here was the biggest shocker. Even despite the crappy blurry photos, this was that Vintage Collection Hasbro Norris Con Emperor's Throne, and it was graded AFA 9.0. You can see the AFA grading there. But this is, you know, a fairly tough item to find since it was only available at the con, and it sold for $950 plus $50 shipping. So $1,000 for a graded Emperor's Throne Room. If you're sitting on one that is minty, get it graded and dump it. If you can get $1,000 for it, I would do it. I would take that money and run, because it is not worth $1,000 to me. But that's just me. That's my personal opinion. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Everyone spends their money differently, but if you got one of these, send it in to get graded, and it's in good shape. That's the key. If it's in really good shape, send it in to get graded, and then sell it for $1,000. That's a big number, big number for, you know, the Emperor's Throne Room Norris Con exclusive. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales for the Vintage Collection. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.